Unless we build it now. United States, Africa, we salute ya. A new state of mind, I introduce ya. Close your eyes and visualize the rise of a new paradigm. Solar powered skyscrapers.
Welcome to the Africa Must Unite podcast, a podcast dedicated to inspiring African people worldwide to rise up, organize, and struggle for Pan-Africanism, a unified, liberated, socialist Africa, the only permanent solution to the exploitation and oppression of African people, no matter where they happen to be born or happen to live in the world. Now please, welcome the hosts of Africa Must Unite.
Africa's future is now, so get ready.
Revolutionary and Pan-African greetings. I'm Mama D.
And I am Brother Melvin.
And this is the Africa Must Unite podcast. And we are the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, PRSP.
PRSP, yes.
And you know, we are really happy, delighted to be dealing and beginning and welcoming you to another year of the Africa Must Unite podcast. This is 2025, and I think we started in 2017, Melvin. So yes. We're beginning another year. We're so happy you're with us of the Africa Must Unite podcast. And before we start, I'd like to read this little statement that deals with how we choose the themes that we have for each year. So all of our Africa Must Unite podcasts are guided by the content of our annual calendars. And the focus, the themes of our calendars are guided by what the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, PRSP, perceives as the most pressing or illuminating issue confronting our people worldwide. The most pressing issue standing in the way of or helping to propel us forward to our liberation. So this year, we document the inevitable emergence of a unified socialist Africa. So our theme this year is a unified socialist Africa is not only possible, it's coming. And this month, January 2025, we highlight for you the focus of each month throughout the year. We just want to give you a little sense of what we'll be doing from now, January 2025, until December 2025. But as always, we'll start off with a few important dates in our history as an African people, and in the history of other progressive revolutionary people throughout the world. And Melvin's going to deal with that for us.
Yeah, thank you, Mama D. So, right on New Year's Day, we want to recognize January 1st. It was the Cuban revolutionaries led by Castro and Che Guevara. They overthrew Batista and the U.S.-backed dictator, who was a U.S.-backed dictator. So that happened in 1959, January 1st. On January 9th, Ahmed Sekou Touré, first president of Guinea and Pan-African warrior, is born in 1922. On January 10th, Amy Ashwood Garvey, core organizer of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, also known as the UNIA, is born in 1897. On January 15th, we have Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the African freedom fighter, who was born in 1929. January 17th, we recognize Patrice Lumumba, the day that he was assassinated by the CIA-backed Congolese forces. That happened in 1961 on January 17th. And then lastly, we look at January 27th, where the MNC, led by Patrice Lumumba, which is the Congolese national movement, led by Patrice Lumumba, defeated the Belgian colonialism in 1959. So those are some critical dates for the month of January.
And that's beautiful and important dates, Melvin, as you mentioned. And this is one of those months when just about every date is filled. And as we teach our youth in Watoto Uhuru Shule, our children's freedom school that meets every 2 weeks, we teach them that even if there is a blank spot on the calendar, we know our people work and struggle for liberation each and every day. So we may not have a date somewhere on the calendar, but we know, and we also know the masses are the makers of history. Our people are the makers of history. So I just wanted to say that this month, January, what we have is just the introduction to the whole theme of the calendar. And so, I like to just read that introduction that we have, and that we will continue to talk about the other themes that we have for the rest of the year. But for January, we have a picture of Africa rising on a calendar cover, and in this graphic on the month of January. And it's a unified socialist Africa is not only possible, it's coming. So what we wrote is this. When we analyze the state of the world today, there is no doubt that a unified socialist Africa is on the horizon. The struggling masses around the globe are uniting in their anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist fight. African people are no exception. All sectors of our people throughout the globe are uniting in the fight against global capitalism, realizing that only unity ensures our survival and ultimate victory. And the highest form of unity for all people of African descent, no matter where they happen to be born in the world, is a unified socialist Africa. Both the negative motions of the capitalist imperialist world and the positive motions of our people are proof that nothing can halt our forward march to liberation. So our calendar 2025, a unified socialist Africa, is not only possible, it's coming, documents. First, the dialectical relationship between the demise of our enemy and the rise of a unified socialist Africa. Secondly, it proves the fact that the masses are the makers of history, no matter the technological and weaponry superiority of our enemy. Thirdly, it chronicles the positive motion of African workers, of African women, and African youth throughout the world. Fourthly, because the African Revolution will not be completed until worldwide socialism, leading to worldwide communism, have been established, our calendar showcases today's positive motion of exploited and oppressed people throughout the world. Finally, and most importantly, our calendar 2025 confirms the fact that the immense wealth of a unified socialist Africa, used not only to benefit the health and welfare of African people globally, but also to benefit poor and working class people worldwide, will make the greatest contribution to the ultimate goal of worldwide communism. As Ahmed Sekou Touré stated, quote, "In the revolution, everything is for the people," end quote. So let's hasten the emergence of a union of African socialist states by not only joining revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations, but by unifying all revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations globally. So this year, we dedicate our 2025 calendar to all revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations wherever they exist.
Wow.
So that's what we have for our January theme, the documentation for January is that. And then, of course, all the important dates in the month of January.
So
And
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mama D.
no, that is it.
No, I just want to. So then, what we'll do, we just kind of want to highlight what you can expect. Hopefully, you all are going to join us throughout the year. As Mama D has already stated, our theme, a United Socialist Africa, is not only possible, it's coming, and we want to just highlight for you all what you can expect to hear and what the engagement will be like for the upcoming month. So, for instance, in February next month, we'll be talking about the dialectical relationship between the decaying capitalist and imperialist world and the emergence of a unified socialist Africa. And real briefly, we'll talk about the increased concentration of wealth in today's capitalist world, how it leads to war as imperialists fight over raw materials, most of which are found in Africa. Today, Africa, the richest land base in the world, is weak because we do not control our wealth. But our lack of control is coming to an end. Africa is on the brink of establishing a unified socialist Africa as progressive and revolutionary forces unite to ensure our survival and prosperity.
Oh, yeah. So that's our focus for February. And our focus for March is the masses are the makers of history. And during this month on our podcast, we'll be talking about this. And leadership is important, but it is not simply an individual thing. Like Gil Scott Heron once said, quote, there ain't no Superman, end quote. However, there are everyday masses of people collectively accomplishing super deeds. History is made by everyday people organized around a revolutionary ideology. There is no force more formidable than the masses of our people organized.
Wonderful. And then in the month of April, the emerging unified socialist Africa is what we'll be talking about. And this will be the engagement, the potential benefits of Africa's land, labor, and mineral resources, all of which exist in abundance, can only be fully realized when Africa and the fruits of its humongous resources, both human and physical, are shared equitably among the masses of its people. This is socialism. In short, African people at home and abroad can only develop to their fullest potential and reap the material and immaterial benefits of their inheritance when the continent becomes one unified socialist nation. The pursuit of a unified socialist Africa has begun, and it is the youth of Africa who today are making the necessary sacrifices to make this an emerging reality.
And we see it all the time. It's the youth who are the spark of the African Revolution. We know it and we are witnessing it. And we should be boiled. I don't know what's that word, Melvin. We should be so revved up by the fact that they are out there and struggling, you know, on all of our behalf. And we sent a little cover of our 2025 calendar around, and it was in Ghana and up in the Cape Coast, and the youth said how beautiful it was. They were so. We just sent the cover in the month of January, but they are rising, and the cover says Africa Rising. So they really sent a note back of how much they appreciated that. But in May, our focus will be on this theme, African workers' positive motion. And we will talk about this. African workers at home and abroad have been and continue to be extremely exploited by the capitalist imperialist system. However, a new day has finally arrived. This can be seen in the huge support African workers on the continent have been providing in the recent removal from office of several corrupt African heads of state. Together with African youth, the working class has been making demands, including, and most importantly, African unity.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping on that theme of positive motion, in the month of June, we'll be discussing African women's positive motion. And one cannot look at the history, culture, current reality, or future prospects of African people without appreciating the pivotal role that countless sisters have played and are playing today in our liberation struggle. Today, sisters throughout global Africa are working tirelessly on behalf of the African Revolution. And knowing that our people must be organized and knowing that revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations are the key to the success of the revolution, many sisters have not only joined them, but also they hold prominent leadership positions within them.
That's beautiful stated. Give the sisters credit. Give the sisters credit.
We have to.
In July, our theme will be African Youth Positive Motion. And it starts off this way. Today, we see a generation rising up throughout global Africa, selflessly fighting against exploitation and oppression and for their people's liberation, following the examples of countless warriors who preceded them. One Kenyan youth stated, quote, "We are seeing our opposition and government sitting together and telling us they want to talk to us. It means the country is not asleep anymore. We are an educated class, though a jobless class in terms of being youth," end quote. So that's our July focus.
So in the month of August, we're going to be talking about the positive revolutionary motions that's happening throughout the world, but specifically looking at that motion within Europe. So in Europe, we'll talk about how the world is awakening to the impact of capitalism in all of its manifestations. For example, young people throughout Europe have assumed their historical role as the spark of revolutionary action. Across Europe, protests are erupting against the violence and discrimination faced by population. In countries such as Italy, Greece, and Spain, demonstrators, many of whom are African, have rallied against the inhumane treatment of migrants, often trapped in overcrowded detention centers or subjected to violent pushbacks at borders.
Wow. Yes, indeed. And we know that whole pushback now, Melvin, we just talked about it last week, is in terms of the European Union outsourcing, to African countries to hold back these people who are trying to migrate into Europe. It's an awful new reality in terms of neocolonialism, when you hold the whole country and different people, hostage. And we always remember Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, saying every African belongs to the African nation. It ain't no distinction between you're Kenya or you're Libya or you Niger or you what. We're all citizens of Africa. And that's what we want to see when Africa is unified and socialist, for sure.
For sure.
In September, we will look at the positive revolutionary motions throughout the world again, but focusing on Central and South America. And what we'll talk about is this: despite the increased onslaught of fascist and imperialist actions by the West, in particular the U.S., the global South continues to push the positive through revolutionary motion. Just taking one example, Colombia. The country announced that it will suspend its coal exports to Israel over the genocide in Gaza and promised to continue to pressure Israel's economy until the genocide stops. That's a quote. Until the genocide stops.
100, yeah. So following that, in the month of October, we'll be looking at the positive revolutionary motions throughout the world with focus on the Middle East, where we'll be talking about the Africans for Palestine, which there's a graphic that we have on our calendar in the month of October. So we will have to talk about what's going on over in Palestine. We're not falling victim to what United States or U.S. or Western media is actually displaying around what's going on over in the Middle East. But we understand that there's been over 50,000 Palestinians, well over 50,000 Palestinians killed, half of which are children, and most of Gaza reduced to rubble. Worldwide protests and demonstrations are still occurring. Protests led by Palestinian youth, even some Jewish organizations, African youth, and many others throughout the world. We will continue to support the genocide. We will continue to protest. We will continue to protest the genocide and dehumanization of Palestinians by the Zionists and all of those who support them.
And all of those who support those Zionists, for sure. In November, our focus is again on positive revolutionary motions throughout the world, looking at North America, particularly the U.S. And what we'll say is this: the U.S. is the leader of global capitalist exploitation and oppression. Despite this fact, the positive revolutionary motions that come out of the U.S., the belly of the beast, serve as inspiration for all who struggle against fascism and imperialism, despite the U.S.'s effort to villainize organizations, to villainize websites, and to villainize social media forums. Organizations such as ours, the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, as well as Black Alliance for Peace, the Pan-African Community Action, and the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, just to name a few, continue to organize on behalf of the masses to bring forth a more just world, a unified socialist Africa, and worldwide socialism leading to worldwide communism.
Absolutely. And then we wrap up the year in the month of December looking at a unified socialist Africa contribution to worldwide socialism. The imperialist days are numbered. A unified socialist Africa is on the horizon. Unification has already begun, and Africa will continue to unite, close its doors to all exploiters and oppressors, and use its immense wealth to uplift all those of African descent throughout the world. And because the interest of a union of African socialist states will extend beyond its own people's health and welfare, because its effects will be felt throughout the world, uplifting the global poor and struggling masses, the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party can state with assurance that a unified socialist Africa will lead to worldwide socialism, resulting ultimately in worldwide communism. Let us continue to build and to unify revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations to hasten the emergence of all three.
To hasten, we wanted to hasten. We don't want to suffer, or we don't want our people to suffer 1 second longer than they have to suffer. So to hasten it, we got to get organized. And we wouldn't be human if we didn't think beyond ourselves. So Unified Socialist Africa is our primary goal at this point. But of course, we wanted to lead to worldwide socialism and eventually worldwide communism. That's the only way we can ensure a world operating in regard to the health and welfare of the people, period.
Yep.
So we definitely hope you'll join us all year. We're trying to give you a little taste of what will be happening each month. And so, we hope that you will join us all throughout 2025 as we explore these various topics that we believe reflect our calendar theme. A unified socialist Africa is not only possible, it's coming. So join us in February when we will examine the following topic: the dialectical relationship between the decaying, and it is, capitalist and imperialist world and the emergence of a unified socialist Africa.
Meanwhile, visit our website, PanAfricanRevolutionarySocialistParty.org. Email us at panafricanrsp@gmail.com and like us on SoundCloud.com or visit us on YouTube.
And remember, organization is the key. Join us, the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, or some other revolutionary Pan-African socialist organization. Remember, a union of African socialist states is on the horizon.
Welcome to Africa, the father of humanity. The great ape is the man in me, and every single man is me. The second largest, most populated continent. The planet's surface, I'm surfing 20% of all the land. Mediterranean to the north, Venezuela to the east. Indian Ocean in the south meets Atlantic in the west. Blessed boss both hemispheres. 54 countries and 11 independent states I got running under me. fuck with me. A billion strong, 15% of all humanity. The largest population majority, only 19. They rise fast, the most vast mass collected past. Who will last as if racing meant fast. The massive African union means you do what you doing. United Nations know what we pursuing. Blowing knots, we be dropping music for a free soul, for a free car, for a free cop, for a free people to see where we from.
So big up every ghetto youth and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate. So big up all the ghetto youths and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate.
Welcome to Africa, the father of my fathers and the father of his fathers, the father of your forefathers' fathers. This is Africa, the father of mankind, exploded with culture. It's the motherland's landmine, the mainline's mainland, the grapevine you heard it through, left you with a spear in your ear, opposite vertical, the most versatile and overcame all adversity. Knowledge of the name became the world's university. Verbally, no words can be gathered together ever to describe the scribes written by tribes, brought together by God to define Africa, the father of all man. Still standing here today, may we glorify the land. Back to rediscover our mother through our brothers, blue and knots. Truth and knowledge from the Kai word to Mother Africa is black, blacker than the black man that made me a black man. Black man, Africa is back.
So big up every ghetto youth and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate. So big up all the ghetto youths and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate.
Welcome to Africa, the father of the motherland, the father of your brother man from another motherland's land other than African. Out of God, if I can, Africa, I can, brother man. Africa, Kafrika, Kufuka, Menaka. I'm in Hotep, I'm in Ra, I'm in a God, and we all Africa. Shaka Zulu, Zulu 2, Zulu rules means if you go Zulu, then you lose. Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and even Zambia, Tanzania, Madagascar, Ethiopia, Botswana, Angola, Congo, Chadikada, Sudan's the Nigerian, Nigeria, Algeria, Mali, and Mauritania, Ivory Coast, Guinea, Ghana, and even Libya, Cameroon, Uganda, Benin, in Kenya, Egypt to Morocco, and Tunisia, East Coast, Somalia, Namibia, Swaziland, Mali, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Liberia, Burundi, Western Sahara, and the Senegal. Yes, Africa, yes, Africa, yes, Africa for all.
So big up every ghetto youth and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate. So big up all the ghetto youths and African slave. Land of Africa, where every black man originate. Welcome to Africa, where every black man originate. Where every black man originate.